Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is if you have your natal moon in conjunction with your ascendant, also known as your rising sign. And it's important to note that with a conjunction between a planet or a point, if we're talking about an asteroid like Chiron, that it could be coming from the 12th house or the first house. All it has to do is be in conjunction with that ascendant, which is the cusp of the first house. Okay. But, it straddles that 12th house. So I'm going to talk about both of these placements of the moon, and you will have to consult your chart to see where it lands. If you already know that you have this conjunction, chances are you've already consulted your chart, though. So anyway, I want to give a shout out to advancedastrology.com. I'm getting my talking points from there, but some of them, obviously I'm speaking from my own observations, experiences, and using their structure to riff on. And so they mentioned the 12th house in terms of the subconscious mind. I feel it's more of the unconscious mind because the 12th house is the house of karma, the house of past lives. So most of us come into this lifetime with amnesia to past lives. And so we don't have past life memories. Maybe we have snatches of memory, but we don't necessarily know that it's that past life. We think it is. Some people have vivid recall of their past lives. I know that that's true. Or maybe they go through hypnotic regression and things like that. So, or have some kind of mystical experience where they are able to access that. But to me, in general, I would call it the unconscious mind. And I call the 8th house the subconscious mind, the shadow self, where it really is more of an active thing, where the person may know that they are suppressing something, but they don't allow it in their conscious mind too much. But it does seep in there. And same with the 12th house. I mean, your unconscious memories can seep into your conscious mind in the form of phobias, for instance. And that's a good example because sometimes we have phobias that have no known origin of trauma in this lifetime. So I think that when people have the moon in the 12th house in general, they tend to be very reactive and emotional. You know what? I will kind of modify what I said. I do think that people with the moon in the 12th house can be aware of their emotional needs. Okay? Because I do know that people with the moon in the 12th house in general can really feel like nobody loves me, nobody understands me, and they mean, emotionally. And so that is a conscious thought. But what I'm saying is that there may be some kind of unconscious influences. Uh, and these could be memories of past lives where they were treated or like emotionally neglected that are causing this. And it may be that from the time they were young children, that they were very emotionally needy and that they simply were so sensitive that other that their parents, even if their parents were decent people, they couldn't fulfill those needs. So it doesn't mean, if you have the moon in the 12th house, in other words, I don't necessarily believe that you were emotionally neglected, even if you feel that way. And I do think that this is a difficult position for somebody to have. This is, the moon in the 12th house is like having the moon in Pisces. And then when you add the conjunction to the ascendant, it's like having Cancer rising. If you have the moon in a water sign, it's on steroids, obviously. If it's in an air sign, it can be more detached, but it is going to be definitely more emotional and psychic, and that could cause problems for this individual in the sense that they want to be rational with their emotions, but they can't fully be that way because of their house placement and the fact that um, it is forming a conjunction with the ascendant can, make them have that type of persona. And I mentioned having a moon in air. What if your sun is also in air? It might be very frustrating, confounding, um, because you're trying so hard to be detached from your emotions, and yet they're on full display. So, um, but in some ways it might be a little bit more controlled. For other people, this can be an issue where, like, you're very psychic in the when it's in the 12th house. That's what advanced astrology says, coming from the 12th. I definitely feel that this would be the case for everybody, because even in the first house, I mean, we're talking about, it's close enough to be to have influence from the 12th. Anyhow, and in the first house, this is part of yourself. And there's this sense of immediacy from the first house. So it could be somebody who has these psychic impressions that just kind of like come to them, perhaps. This is the house of Aries, and it's very, and it might even be part of how other people see you, as kind of this dreamy person, this um, psychic person. Even if you don't go around making predictions, people may just feel that intuitive aura of yours. Um, when um, when you have this in the first house, it's more of an open kind of um, an aspect to you. In other words, you might not be shy of expressing your emotions, and you may be more in touch with them than in the 12th house, because of what I just said, because it is the house of the self. Um, I feel that this this conjunction can lead to moodiness. I didn't see that word being used on this website, but I certainly feel that that can be the case. Just like with Cancer rising, they mentioned wearing your heart on your sleeve, and that's exactly what moodiness is. If you wake up on the wrong side of the bed, you're not going to hide that grumpiness or crabbiness. The moon rules Cancer, and Cancer is a crab. So people, other types of people, they may be, really suffering, and they put on a happy face. Now, is that a good thing? We can debate whether or not that's a good thing or not. You could say that that's being fake. But on the other hand, if a person is self-indulgent about their moods, so that it's almost like they want other people to know what they're feeling, um, that can have its own challenges too, because if it is on the negative side, it might mean that other people feel like they have to walk on eggshells. If you're very sensitive, yeah, that's another thing too. This is a very sensitive, maybe even hypersensitive conjunction. So really think about what I said. Some of you might be triggered that I said that, and that's okay. Triggers are sources of information. So when people say trigger warning, they're really saying that we should be afraid of triggers. No, we should not be afraid of triggers. We should embrace them because they tell us where we are unhealed. If this doesn't resonate with you, then it's not for you. But I have a feeling that it will be true for a lot of people with this conjunction. And there can, I think, just like with Cancer rising, there may be like a real fear of being ridiculed. Now, nobody wants to be ridiculed, but some people have a tougher skin than others. And this may be somebody who's very vulnerable to somebody mocking them. Because remember, I said that the first house is the self. And or you know, and the cusp of the first house can be about the self. And so uh, with that conjunction, especially about appearance, this person might be sensitive about their appearance. I didn't notice that, but I think that that could certainly be the case. And you want to look at these things. What if you have it in Libra? And that might make you, yeah, I guess you could say Taurus too, but for some reason, I think of Libra as even more in need of being that classic beauty. I might, I think because Taurus is an earth sign, it's more maybe like grounded, realistic about whatever is going on and accepts the limitations of the 3D world. And Libra is an air sign, so there's an abstraction there. But when, for instance, using that example of, let's say, Libra or Taurus with that conjunction, and I have to be careful because, no, I don't have to be careful. Scratch that. Uh, you might have this, it might be too in need of some kind of, um, you know, validation from others as being beautiful. And so there might be like an emotional vulnerability in that sense. If it's coming from the 12th house, it might even be from past lives for some reason that you have that need. But in the first house, it can be like an ego thing, but not. I don't mean it like necessarily. I don't want to just make it into some kind of narcissistic thing, but just like a sense of identity, as part of your identity that might be a need. So, using example, let's say there's a woman and she has the moon in conjunction with the ascendant, and she's aging in Libra, moon conjunction with the sun in Libra, and she's aging, and she has really um, formed this identity of being this great beauty, and now her looks are fading, and she may get more and more sensitive about that, and that can cause emotional issues, for instance. So that's just one example, but look at that hypersensitivity, the need to defend oneself, the need to fear um, being teased or anything like that. If you were young, you might have been one of those people that, got teased because you were such an easy mark. People, you know, saw you might have been a crybaby. And I'm saying that at being insensitive, even using the term, I should say prone to tears instead of a crybaby. But things like that. And so that just made them want to do it more, in other words. But on the positive side, you can be somebody who is very compassionate. You may be a natural healer. You may be someone who is an artist of some sort. And they mentioned here actors, singers, musicians. I don't know. It sounds like they were talking about performers in particular. I assume the reason they're saying that is because This is connected to the ascendant, that it would be your mannerisms, how you carry yourself, and it's in an artistic way. So it could be like the performer of some sort. But I would say that any type of creativity, even a painter or something like that, or a poet, might be the case. You might be highly romantic, I feel. This They say that people with this conjunction want a large family. I'm, attributing to them because I don't really understand that. I mean, yes, Cancer rules the house of home and family. Now, whether, why that would be a large family, I don't know. And they mention enjoying the role of being a parent, um, having, multiple children, being family oriented. So this is one of those situations where a sign like Sagittarius, that's my sun sign, for instance, I don't have kids, but I notice that there are some the masculine signs of fire, like Sag, or air signs and air signs. These signs tend to be, when they have families, they're not necessarily that they're not necessarily homebodies. This might make you more of that, and have that kind of a persona as a homebody, even if you're a Sag, even if you're an Aquarius, and so it's kind of like one of those subtle influences that you don't necessarily think about that could really make a person seem different than they are. Now, another thing that I don't see here that could be straight up appearance wise, could be like the moon phase. I always use the example of Linda Ronstadt, the singer, who is the biggest in this. Her heyday was in the 70s, and you know, a beautiful woman, sun in Cancer, who had a moon phase. Now, I said she had the sun there, but that I do feel that can influence the appearance as well. So retaining water or having a moon phase may be something that is influenced from the moon, in terms of how you look, and so that as well. So anyway, that's what I have for you. I hope that you enjoy this. If you would like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.